Ancient city streets were maps of the stars above. This is the reality behind the world's oldest urban centers, where entire cities were built as perfect reflections of celestial constellations. By the end of this exploration, you will see human history and the night sky as a single, interconnected story. Why would civilizations dedicate centuries to aligning stone with starlight? And what secret knowledge about the universe did they embed in their architecture? How does our modern world look when you realize it was built upon a forgotten cosmic blueprint? What does it say about us that our ancestors saw their home not just as land, but as a piece of the heavens? This profound connection between earth and sky was a universal language spoken by the world's first architects. The blueprint for their cities was not drawn on parchment, but was instead charted across the night sky, a grand design waiting to be brought down to earth. This was far more than an aesthetic choice. It was a core tenet of their entire worldview, a philosophy we now call sacred geography. The central belief was simple yet revolutionary. The earthly realm should be a perfect mirror of the heavenly one. By building a reflection of the cosmos, ancient societies believed they could tap into divine energies, maintain the balance of the universe, and solidify the sacred authority of their kings and priests, who were seen as the vital link between humanity and the gods. This ambitious goal demanded an incredible fusion of science and spirituality. It required priest astronomers to possess a deep understanding of the stars, advanced mathematics for precise calculation, and sophisticated surveying techniques to transcribe those vast celestial patterns onto the human scale of a city. This is why the foundational act of laying out a city was itself a sacred ritual. The resulting street plan was a permanent cosmogram, a symbolic map of the universe meant to last for eternity. The proof of their success is etched into the ground, in the precise alignment of a temple wall with the sunrise on the summer solstice, or a main avenue pointing directly toward a star that only rose once a year. These were not random orientations. They were critical markers for planting seasons and religious festivals, weaving the practical needs of survival into the very fabric of their cosmic design. This spiritual approach to urban planning infused every stone and pathway with a deeper meaning, transforming a simple settlement into a living, breathing piece of the heavens. To truly grasp the scale of this achievement, we can turn to one of the most stunning and well-preserved examples ever discovered. The city of Thebes did not simply exist beneath the stars, it was a deliberate echo of them. Its grand temples and processional avenues were arranged in a pattern that mirrors the constellation of Orion, a celestial formation the Egyptians saw as the god Osiris, the ruler of the afterlife and rebirth. This connection goes far beyond the famous alignment of the Giza pyramids with the three stars of Orion's belt. The entire urban landscape of Thebes was a sprawling map of the heavens, with each major temple and royal tomb positioned to reflect a specific star or divine entity. This was a city built as a gateway, a place where the boundary between the earthly world and the cosmic realm was intentionally blurred. Egyptian spiritual texts describe the Duat, the underworld, not as a dark cavern, but as a starry landscape the pharaoh's soul would travel through after death. Thebes was the physical manifestation of that journey, a guidebook in stone and sand for the soul's ascent. This celestial blueprint was deeply functional. The main avenue, for instance, aligned with the rising of a key star, its path used for sacred processions during festivals that celebrated the cosmic order of Maat. Every ritual performed along that road, every offering made in a precisely oriented temple, was an act of maintaining universal balance. To achieve such accuracy without telescopes or advanced mathematics required generations of priest astronomers observing the night sky, their knowledge passed down and perfected over centuries. The result was more than a city, it was a machine for living in harmony with the universe, an eternal, ordered world built to mirror the perfection of the heavens. This profound desire to anchor human civilization to the cosmos was not unique to the Nile Valley. Far across the Atlantic, another great culture was undertaking an identical, yet entirely independent project. Across the ocean, the builders of Teotihuacan were performing a similar act of cosmic alignment, but with a vision entirely their own. The city's immense avenue of the dead runs like a central artery, flanked by monumental pyramids that seem to echo the very mountains surrounding the valley. This was not a random arrangement. The three great pyramids of the sun, the moon, and the feathered serpent, along with the vast plaza known as the Ciudadela, are positioned in a pattern that many researchers believe mirrors our solar system. The city itself becomes a scale model of the cosmos, with each major structure representing a different celestial body. Another compelling theory suggests the entire city plan was laid out to reflect the Pleiades star cluster, a group of stars that held profound meaning across Mesoamerica. The orientation of the Avenue of the Dead is not aligned to true north, but instead points precisely to the spot on the horizon where the Pleiades set. This was not just an astronomical curiosity. The setting of this star cluster marked a critical turning point in the year, signaling the beginning of the agricultural season and the renewal of life. Can you envision the ceremony? The entire city gathered as priests watched for that celestial signal, confirming that the time had come to plant maize and that the cosmic order was intact. This alignment wove the practical reality of survival directly into the spiritual fabric of the city. The very name Teotihuacan, meaning the place where the gods were created, reveals its ultimate purpose. The city was a physical reenactment of their creation myth, a story where the gods gathered at that very site to sacrifice themselves and bring the sun and the moon into existence. By walking the Avenue of the Dead, a citizen was retracing the steps of the gods. By standing before the Pyramid of the Sun, they were present at the moment of creation itself. This was sacred geography made manifest on a breathtaking scale, a city built not just for people, but as a permanent monument to the birth of the cosmos. Constructed over centuries, long before the rise of the Aztecs who would later marvel at its ruins, Teotihuacan stands as a powerful testament to a universal human impulse. Here, a civilization with no contact with Egypt or its neighbors arrived at the same profound conclusion, that a city must be a mirror of the heavens to have any true meaning on earth. This same cosmic logic would later be applied with imperial precision to shape the very heart of Chinese power. This same principle of cosmic order found its ultimate expression in Imperial China, within the walls of the Forbidden City. Here, the emperor ruled from a throne positioned as the unmoving center of the world, a direct reflection of the pole star around which the entire heavens silently turned. The entire sprawling complex was laid out with breathtaking precision along a single north-south axis, a terrestrial echo of the celestial pole. This was not merely a symbolic gesture, it was the very foundation of imperial power, a physical declaration of the emperor's mandate of heaven. His role was to maintain perfect harmony between the human realm and the cosmos, and the city itself was the instrument for achieving this balance. Every detail of its design was dictated by ancient texts like the Caogong Jai, a manual for creating a perfect cosmic city. The Forbidden City was built as a square within square walls, with 12 gates representing the 12 earthly branches of the Chinese zodiac and timekeeping system. Its three grand concentric courts were a deliberate map of the universe, mirroring the three realms of heaven, earth, and humanity. To walk from the outer courts to the inner sanctum was to move through these cosmic layers, approaching the celestial power embodied by the Son of Heaven himself. The synchronization went even deeper. The placement of every major hall, gate, and courtyard was calculated against astrological charts and the agricultural calendar. Imperial rituals, audiences, and even the emperor's daily movements were scheduled to align with celestial events, ensuring that the business of governing a vast empire pulsed in rhythm with the universe. The colors you would have seen held profound meaning. The yellow glazed tiles that roofed the most important buildings were not just for royalty. They symbolized the earth element and the center of all things, directly aligning with the emperor's central, stabilizing role. This was governance as a form of cosmic engineering, where architecture, astronomy, and political authority fused into a single, unified system designed to ensure eternal stability. Yet, this profound connection between urban design and the stars was not confined to the empires of the East. The classical world of Greece was building its own celestial ideals into the heart of its city-states. For the ancient Greeks, the city was a living embodiment of cosmic harmony. Their urban planning did not simply replicate a star map, but sought to capture the very essence of a balanced universe through sacred geometry and philosophical ideals. In Athens, this vision was carved into the very landscape. The Acropolis stood as the sacred high point, a domain dedicated to the goddess Athena, while the agora below served as the bustling civic heart where democracy and daily life unfolded. This careful separation created a tangible balance between the divine realm and the human world, a physical expression of their belief in a well-ordered society. The orientation of their temples was never arbitrary. Each was precisely aligned, perhaps with the rising sun on the birthday of its patron deity or with another significant celestial event, ensuring the stone structure was in constant dialogue with the heavens. This pursuit of cosmic perfection reached its zenith in the very proportions of their architecture. The Parthenon itself is a masterpiece of this philosophy, its dimensions carefully calculated using the golden ratio and other mathematical constants. The builders were not just creating a beautiful building, they were constructing a form that resonated with what they believed was the fundamental order of nature itself. The philosopher Plato gave this idea its most eloquent voice, describing the cosmos as a geometrically perfect world soul in his dialogue Timaeus. For city planners and architects, this was a direct challenge to design a polis that itself was a microcosm, a small-scale model of that perfect universal soul. Even the city's foundational myths were woven into its physical layout. The contest between Athena and Poseidon for patronage of the city was not just a story, it was a narrative etched into the location of sacred springs and temples, a permanent reminder of the values they held dear. Every element worked in concert, myth and mathematics and astronomy fused together to create an environment that was an active participant in the cosmic order. To be a citizen walking these streets was to be constantly surrounded by principles of harmony and balance, fostering both civic virtue and a deep, personal connection to a universe governed by reason and beauty. This philosophical approach demonstrates a different, yet equally profound, method of tying human civilization to the cosmos. Far across the world, another empire was achieving a similar feat, but on a scale that used the mountains themselves as its instruments. High in the Andes, the Inca engineers carved a celestial capital directly into the spine of the mountains. High in the Andes, the Inca engineers carved a celestial capital directly into the spine of the mountains. Cusco was not merely a city, it was the navel of the world, the literal and symbolic center of their entire universe. Its very shape was a sacred animal, a puma in stone, whose outline was believed to mirror the constellation of the same great cat in the heavens. This was more than myth, it was a precise terrestrial map of their spiritual cosmos. The city was fundamentally divided into two parts, Honan, or Upper Cusco, and Hurin, Lower Cusco. This division reflected the core Andean principle of duality, the balance of opposing forces like the sun and moon, male and female, that held the universe in harmony. At the very heart of this puma-shaped city lay the central plaza, Huaycapata, considered the cosmic navel from which all energy and order flowed. The river Tulumayo was engineered to flow through the city, a deliberate, shimmering reflection of the Milky Way, which the Incas revered as Mayu, the great celestial river. Can you see the intention, the entire urban landscape designed as a perfect echo of the starry sky above? The true anchor of this cosmic design was the Coricancha, the temple of the sun. This was the cosmological center point, a place so sacred its walls were once clad in solid gold. From this temple radiated an invisible but profoundly important web of lines called sects. These were not just abstract spiritual concepts, they were the functional organizing system of the entire empire. The sects divided the surrounding landscape into sacred sectors, each one aligned with specific solar, lunar, and stellar events. This web was physically marked by hundreds of shrines known as huacas, which could be anything from a sacred spring to a distinctive rock formation. Together, they formed a vast, open-air observatory and calendar that governed everything from the timing of religious festivals to the agricultural planting schedule. This intimate knowledge of the stars was a matter of survival in the challenging Andes, where a miscalculation in the planting season could mean famine. The city of Cusco was the ultimate expression of this relationship, a machine for living in sync with the cosmos. Every stone, every street, and every shrine was a cog in this celestial clock, ensuring that human society moved in perfect rhythm with the universe. This incredible precision forces a compelling question. How did ancient cultures, separated by vast oceans, achieve such stunning alignments without the tools we take for granted? Achieving such celestial precision required tools far simpler than you might expect, yet wielded with extraordinary skill. The foundation of their entire endeavor was the gnomon, a simple vertical rod planted in the earth. By tracking the daily and seasonal movement of its shadow, ancient astronomers could pinpoint the longest and shortest days of the year, the solstices, and the 2 days of perfect balance, the equinoxes. This single, unadorned stick provided the fundamental grid upon which their cosmic cities were drawn. In Egypt, this technology evolved into the merkit, an ingenious instrument consisting of a palm rib with a slit cut into it, used alongside a plumb line. A priest astronomer would peer through the slit, aligning it with another merkit held by a colleague to create a perfect north-south sightline by centering a specific star, like our Polaris, as it crossed the meridian. This gave them a celestial true north, a fixed axis from which every temple and pyramid could be oriented. But how do you extend that perfect line across miles of uneven terrain to lay out an entire city? The answer lies in sighting lines. They would establish long, clear lines of sight toward distant natural landmarks, a solitary mountain peak or a distinctive notch in the hills, or even toward artificial mounds built specifically for this purpose. These permanent markers on the horizon acted as giant, immovable reference points, ensuring that the grand vision remained true from one generation to the next. This knowledge was not static, it was cumulative. The Maya, for instance, kept meticulous records of planetary cycles and eclipses for over 1,000 years, their observations so precise they could predict celestial events centuries into the future. This deep, long-term data was then encoded directly into their architecture, with temple doorways and pyramid stairways positioned to capture a specific beam of light or frame a particular planet on a prophesied date. The very act of construction was a ritual synchronized with the heavens. The laying of a cornerstone might be timed for a solstice sunrise. The raising of a temple's main pillar could coincide with the full moon, infusing the growing structure with cosmic significance at every stage. This was a patient, intergenerational project, a stark contrast to our modern, fast-paced world. They were not building for a quarterly report or a single lifetime. They were building for eternity, for a perpetual harmony between their world and the cosmos. Their success stands as a powerful testament to what human communities can achieve with a shared, sacred vision. But what was the ultimate purpose of this immense effort beyond mere alignment? What profound meaning did these civilizations see in turning their cities into perfect mirrors of the night sky? The ultimate purpose of these celestial blueprints was far greater than architectural mimicry. Each city was designed to become an axis mundi, a sacred center point piercing through the layers of reality to connect the earth with the heavens above and the underworld below. This was the spiritual engine of the entire civilization, a conduit through which divine energy and cosmic order were believed to flow directly into the human realm. By building this connection, they were actively pulling the harmony of the cosmos down to Earth, transforming a potentially chaotic wilderness into a place of guaranteed fertility, prosperity, and divine protection. The entire urban space was consecrated, a temple so vast its walls were the city limits themselves, and every citizen within them lived their life according to a divinely ordained plan. This cosmic design was also a masterful tool of political power. A ruler who positioned his palace at the terrestrial equivalent of the pole star, or his tomb beneath the celestial image of a god, was making an undeniable claim. He was not merely governing by human right, he was demonstrating a direct lineage to the divine, his authority woven into the very fabric of the universe. This celestial legitimacy was a powerful shield against dissent and chaos. Beyond politics, the city functioned as a giant memory palace, a mnemonic device built on a colossal scale. The street that represented the backbone of a celestial serpent, or the pyramid that marked the eye of a heavenly jaguar, were not just landmarks, they were chapters in a living storybook, helping to preserve and transmit complex mythological narratives and precise astronomical data across countless generations without a single written word. In their final essence, these stone constellations were permanent prayers. They were humanity's most enduring attempt to speak to the universe, to affirm our place within a vast, ordered, and meaningful whole. Every aligned avenue was a verse, every pyramid a stanza in an epic poem written across the landscape. This symbolic layer transforms these ruins from mere archaeological sites into something far more profound, living cosmologies that still whisper their ancient truths. This profound symbolism raises a compelling and controversial question. Did these cultures arrive at this same profound idea independently, or were they all following fragments of a single, lost global pattern? These parallels across continents ignite a fierce debate that still divides researchers today. Was this a case of independent genius or proof of a shared heritage from a forgotten global culture? The evidence seems tantalizingly clear. How else could civilizations who never met all choose to align their greatest cities with the solstices, to map the same constellations like Orion and the Pleiades onto their sacred ground, and to build their societies around the same four cardinal directions? For some, these echoes are too precise to be coincidence, suggesting the work of a single advanced source, a lost civilization, or even extraterrestrial guides who seeded this knowledge worldwide. Yet the majority of archaeologists and historians point to a more profound, and perhaps more beautiful explanation: convergent cultural evolution. Think of it like this: different animals on different continents independently evolved wings for flight. In the same way, human societies gazing up at the very same stars, asking the same fundamental questions about life, death, and their place in the cosmos, were bound to arrive at similar answers. The human brain is a pattern-seeking machine, and the night sky is the ultimate puzzle. The sun's path, the turning of the seasons, the fixed pivot of the North Star, these are universal experiences. It is not so strange that the Egyptians saw a god in Orion while the Maya saw a celestial turtle. Both recognized the same pattern and gave it supreme importance. They were all using the only consistent clock and calendar they had, the heavens above. So while a direct line from the architects of Teotihuacan to the pharaohs of Egypt is a fascinating idea, it is not necessary to explain the phenomenon. The true connection was not a lost superculture, but the shared human mind itself, driven by a universal yearning to build a meaningful world. This perspective transforms these cities from potential copies into unique masterpieces, each a brilliant local answer to a global human question. One of the most stunning and complex of these masterpieces lies deep in the Cambodian jungle, where a vast temple city reveals its own intricate dialogue with the cosmos. The sprawling complex of Angkor Wat is far more than a collection of beautiful ruins. It is a precise architectural model of the Hindu universe. Its iconic central towers are a stone representation of the 5 peaks of the sacred Mount Meru, the axis of the cosmic world. The vast moat surrounding the temple symbolizes the primordial ocean, and the concentric galleries chart the layers of the celestial realms. But the cosmic connection goes far deeper than this symbolic representation. Recent research using advanced satellite imagery and ground-penetrating radar has revealed something astonishing. The entire urban grid of Greater Angkor, covering nearly 400 square miles, appears to be aligned with the path of the dragon, the Hindu constellation known as Kostabha. The main temple's western gateway is precisely oriented toward the point where the sun sets on the spring equinox, an alignment that would have bathed the sacred sanctum in a direct golden light on that spiritually significant day. Furthermore, the bas-relief galleries are designed so that the rising sun on the summer solstice illuminates specific panels depicting celestial deities, turning the stone narrative into a seasonal, solar-powered storybook. This was a city engineered to not just represent the cosmos, but to actively interact with it, its stones serving as a permanent astronomical instrument. The builders of Angkor, the Khmer Empire, achieved a synthesis of spiritual symbolism and precise astronomical observation that rivals any of the ancient world's wonders, proving once again that the desire to mirror the heavens in stone was a truly universal human ambition. The sprawling complex of Angkor Wat is far more than a collection of beautiful ruins. It is a precise architectural model of the Hindu universe. Its iconic central towers are a stone representation of the 5 peaks of the sacred Mount Meru, the axis of the cosmic world. The vast moat surrounding the temple symbolizes the primordial ocean, and the concentric galleries chart the layers of the celestial realms. But the cosmic connection goes far deeper than this symbolic representation. Recent research using advanced satellite imagery and ground-penetrating radar has revealed something astonishing. The entire urban grid of Greater Angkor, covering nearly 400 square miles, appears to be aligned with the path of the dragon, the Hindu constellation known as Kostabha. The main temple's western gateway is precisely oriented toward the point where the sun sets on the spring equinox, an alignment that would have bathed the sacred sanctum in a direct golden light on that spiritually significant day. Furthermore, the bas-relief galleries are designed so that the rising sun on the summer solstice illuminates specific panels depicting celestial deities, turning the stone narrative into a seasonal, solar-powered storybook. This was a city engineered to not just represent the cosmos, but to actively interact with it, its stones serving as a permanent astronomical instrument. The builders of Angkor, the Khmer Empire, achieved a synthesis of spiritual symbolism and precise astronomical observation that rivals any of the ancient world's wonders, proving once again that the desire to mirror the heavens in stone was a truly universal human ambition. Yet these celestial cities were not static monuments, they were living systems, and their lifeblood was water. Water was the lifeblood of these celestial cities, a shimmering, dynamic layer of their cosmic design. In the grand layouts of Angkor Wat and the Forbidden City, the vast moats were far more than defensive barriers. They represented the primordial oceans of creation, the chaotic waters from which the ordered world first emerged. Encircling the sacred center, these moats defined a boundary between the mundane world and the cosmic realm within. This symbolic use of water created a breathtaking visual effect, its still surface acting as a perfect mirror, doubling the architecture and reflecting the sky above, thereby physically uniting the earthly city with the heavens. This was not just passive symbolism, it was an active, living part of the spiritual landscape. In Cusco, this concept flowed through the very heart of the city. The Incas meticulously channeled their rivers, seeing the Tulumayo and Sapphire not just as sources of water, but as the terrestrial counterparts of the Milky Way, the great celestial river they called Mayu. To walk beside these waterways was to walk alongside the stars, a constant, flowing reminder of the connection between the two realms. This idea of a celestial river was a global one. For the ancient Egyptians, the Nile was the earthly reflection of the Milky Way. They believed the sun god Ra traveled this starry river in his bark each night from sunset to sunrise. This is why so many Egyptian temples and cities were precisely oriented toward the Nile. The river was not just a source of life, it was the local manifestation of the cosmic pathway of the gods. The annual flood was not merely a seasonal event, it was a celestial instruction, a signal from the heavens that dictated the rhythm of planting, harvest, and ritual. This deep integration connected the grand cosmic order directly to the most fundamental needs of survival. We see this same principle at work in Teotihuacan, where the channeling of water through the Ciudadela complex was likely designed to mirror celestial patterns associated with Tlaloc, the god of rain and fertility. The careful management of rainwater and springs was a form of sympathetic magic, an attempt to align the city's lifeblood with the celestial forces that govern the storms and the growth of maize. This holistic vision wove hydrology, astronomy, and spirituality into a single, seamless system. The ancient planners demonstrated a profound ecological wisdom, understanding that a city in harmony with the cosmos must also be in harmony with its natural environment. They managed water not just as a resource, but as a sacred element, a fluid bridge between the human world and the divine patterns of the sky. This intricate fusion of symbol and substance makes the modern task of verifying these celestial correlations incredibly challenging. These celestial blueprints are a beautiful idea, but they face a serious challenge from a chorus of academic skeptics. The most significant charge leveled against them is confirmation bias, the natural human tendency to find patterns we are already looking for. Think of it like seeing shapes in the clouds, with a sprawling ancient city and a sky full of thousands of stars. If you search with enough determination, you will inevitably find some points that seem to align. Critics argue that many of these proposed correlations could be nothing more than statistical coincidence, especially when the original builders left no written records explaining their intent. This problem is compounded by a slow, powerful force known as the precession of the equinoxes. Our planet wobbles on its axis over a vast cycle of 26,000 years, which means the entire celestial sphere gradually shifts over centuries. An alignment that appears perfect to our modern eyes, like a temple doorway framing a specific star, might not have been visible at all when the city was founded. The star's position would have been noticeably different. This casts doubt on interpretations that use our current sky to explain ancient layouts. Furthermore, some theories are built on selective evidence, highlighting a few points that fit the pattern while ignoring others that do not. Mainstream archaeologists stress the need for a rigorous, multidisciplinary approach, combining hard evidence from digs with astronomical data and, crucially, the study of ancient inscriptions when they exist. They caution us against romanticizing the past, reminding us that ancient peoples were practical humans, not mystics with supernatural knowledge. This critical perspective is not meant to destroy the wonder, but to ground it in reality, ensuring that our fascination leads to genuine understanding rather than speculative fiction. This essential debate pushes us to look closer and demand stronger evidence, a process that continues to unfold with fascinating discoveries from a much younger nation. In the American Southwest, the ancestral Puebloan people built a remarkable complex that seems to whisper its own cosmic secrets. While skeptics debate complex sites, the evidence in North America is laid out with breathtaking clarity on the ground. In the Ohio River Valley, the ancient mound builders sculpted the earth itself into a cosmic language. Their most stunning statement is the Great Serpent Mound, a quarter-mile-long earthwork in the form of a coiled serpent, its body gracefully curving across the landscape. This was no simple drawing. The serpent's head is aligned precisely with the summer solstice sunset, while its coiled body points toward the winter solstice sunrise, and other curves align with the equinoxes. Some researchers see an even grander design, suggesting the entire winding form is a terrestrial map of the constellation Draco, the dragon, as it eternally circles the North Star. The exact people who built it and their full purpose remain a subject of deep discussion, but the precision of its celestial targeting is beyond question. This was not an isolated project. Far to the west, at the massive city of Cahokia, near modern-day St. Louis, a different mound complex rose. Its central Monk's Mound, the largest pre-Columbian earthwork in the Americas, fronts a grand plaza that scholars believe was arranged to mark the solstices and the lunar standstills. These were not just piles of dirt, they were the sacred centers of vibrant societies, vast ceremonial stages where entire communities would gather to witness the sun or moon rise over a specific mound, confirming the cosmic order and their place within it. The mound builders achieved this without quarried stone, using only earth and a profound understanding of the sky. Their achievements shatter any notion that celestial urbanism was confined to the old world. It was a universal human impulse expressed here in the soft, sculpted soil of North America. This incredible precision, from the Nile to the Ohio, forces a fundamental question. What invisible tool made it all possible, allowing cultures across time and space to transcribe the vast heavens onto the human scale? The silent, universal key was mathematics. Mathematics provided the invisible scaffolding for these celestial cities, to translate the grand, swirling patterns of the night sky into the rigid lines of a street grid. Ancient architects needed more than just star charts. They needed a universal language of shape and number. This language was geometry. Across the world, we find the same mathematical constants embedded in sacred architecture, as if these builders were all working from the same fundamental blueprint for reality. The Pythagorean theorem, a cornerstone of geometry, was used centuries before the Greek philosopher gave it his name. In Egypt, surveyors known as harpadonapti, or rope stretchers, used a special cord called a bay. By knotting this rope in a precise 3-4-5 ratio, they could create a perfect right angle every single time. This simple, brilliant tool was the foundation for aligning colossal temples and pyramids with the 4 cardinal directions, ensuring their cosmic order was geometrically perfect from the very first measurement. This mathematical sophistication was not confined to one region. The Maya developed one of the most advanced numerical systems in the ancient world, a base 20 or vigesimal system that included the revolutionary concept of zero. This was not abstract math for its own sake. They used these tools to perform breathtakingly complex astronomical calculations, tracking the cycles of Venus with an accuracy that rivals modern computations. This deep celestial data was then encoded directly into their city layouts, with pyramid heights and plaza dimensions reflecting precise planetary ratios. Their calendars, which could project eclipses thousands of years into the future, dictated the timing of construction, turning each new building project into an event synchronized with the cosmos. In ancient India, the Shulba Sutras, which literally mean rules of the cord, provided the geometric formulas for constructing altars and, by extension, entire temple cities. These texts contain some of the earliest known statements of geometric principles, detailing how to construct a square equal in area to a given circle, a symbolic act of uniting the earthly and the celestial. This was math in the service of mysticism, ensuring that the symbolic representation of the universe was not just an artistic approximation, but a numerically precise model. This precision was reinforced through sacred numbers, the count of gates in a Chinese city wall, the steps leading to an Egyptian temple, or the pillars in a Greek stoa were often specific, potent numbers like 7 for the classical planets, 12 for the months, or 108, a number of completion in many Eastern traditions. These were not arbitrary choices. They were deliberate acts of weaving cosmic order into the very fabric of the city, brick by brick and number by number. This marriage of mathematics and mysticism reveals a profound underlying belief that the universe itself is orderly and governed by knowable laws. By building their cities according to these same mathematical laws, our ancestors were not just creating symbolic maps, they were constructing resonant structures, tuning their civilization to the fundamental frequency of the cosmos. The result was an urban environment that felt inherently right, both spiritually symbolic and structurally sound, a testament to the power of number as the silent language of creation. This ancient fusion of calculation and cosmology did not vanish with the fall of these great empires. It simply transformed, finding new expression in the cities we walk through today. The principles of sacred geography did not vanish with the ancient world, they simply evolved. Our modern cities, planned for commerce and traffic flow, may seem a world away from cosmic blueprints, yet subtle echoes of that old wisdom still resonate in the unlikeliest of places. Consider the design of Washington, D.C., conceived by Pierre L'Enfant not as a reflection of the stars but of Enlightenment ideals. Its grand diagonal avenues superimposed on a grid create a web of power, with the Capitol building standing as a secular temple and the Washington Monument acting as a vast, impersonal gnomon casting its shadow across the mall. This was not a city for gods but for citizens, yet its symbolic layout was meticulously crafted to express the order and aspirations of a new republic. While it doesn't map constellations, it channels that same ancient impulse to embed meaning into the very streets. This legacy is now being rediscovered by a new generation of architects and urban planners. Movements advocating for sacred geometry and biophilic design seek to reintroduce natural patterns, proportions, and elements into our concrete landscapes. The goal is no longer to please the gods, but to nurture human well-being, recognizing that we thrive in environments that resonate with the organic shapes and rhythms found in nature, from the spiral of a seashell to the branching of a tree. This is a modern, scientific take on an ancient spiritual truth that our surroundings profoundly shape who we are. Perhaps the most direct contemporary effort to reclaim our celestial heritage is the dark sky movement. As our cities blaze with light pollution, severing our view of the Milky Way, communities worldwide are fighting to preserve pockets of true darkness. This isn't just for astronomers, it is a profound acknowledgement that the starry sky is a fundamental part of our human inheritance, a source of wonder and perspective that we have foolishly erased. The study of ancient celestial cities is far from a purely historical exercise. It actively informs modern archaeology and anthropology, forcing us to re-evaluate the intellectual sophistication of past cultures. We are learning to see them not as primitive mystics, but as brilliant scientist-philosophers who understood their place in the cosmos. We may no longer align our avenues with the solstice sun, but the underlying human yearning remains, a deep-seated need for order, meaning, and a connection to something greater than our daily routines. The legacy of these celestial cities is a timeless reminder that the best urban design has always been about more than mere function. It is about feeding the human spirit. This enduring mystery of cosmic connections leads us to one of the most enigmatic and fiercely debated sites in the world. Göbekli Tepe stands as a profound anomaly, a sacred complex that predates everything we thought we knew about civilization's dawn. Built around 9,600 BC, this hilltop sanctuary in Turkey is older than Stonehenge, older than the pyramids, a staggering 6,500 years before the first cities of Mesopotamia. Its discovery shattered a long-held belief that agriculture and settled life came first, and only then did humans have the leisure and organization to build temples. Göbekli Tepe suggests the reverse may be true, that the impulse to create a sacred space aligned with the cosmos was the very spark that ignited civilization. The site is a collection of massive stone circles, each defined by monolithic T-shaped pillars weighing many tons, intricately carved with a menagerie of animals. The sheer scale implies a level of social organization and shared purpose that historians never attributed to hunter-gatherers, but the true mystery is written in its orientation. Some of these enclosures appear precisely aligned with the solstices or the rising of key stars like Sirius. The animal carvings, scorpions, foxes, birds, and bulls may not be random decorations. Many researchers now see them as a potential Stone Age zodiac, with each creature representing a constellation known to these ancient sky watchers. If this interpretation holds, Göbekli Tepe is not just a temple, it is the earliest known cosmic blueprint, a three-dimensional map of the heavens constructed at the very moment humanity was transitioning from a nomadic to a settled existence. This means the desire to mirror the sky in stone did not emerge from complex urban societies, but may have been the foundational act that made society itself possible. The coordinated labor, the advanced astronomical knowledge, the shared mythology, all were focused on this one celestial project. The hilltop was not a city, but it was a focal point that drew people together for a common spiritual and cosmic goal, setting the stage for everything that followed. This revolutionary site forces us to reconsider the very origins of architecture, not as mere shelter, but as a deliberate, conscious act of connecting Earth to the cosmos. The ideas born here would not remain isolated on that Turkish hilltop for long. They began a slow, inexorable journey across the continents, carried along the trade routes that would one day weave the ancient world together. The Silk Road pulsed with more than just the footsteps of merchants and the scent of exotic spices. It was a living network for the trade of ideas, where astronomical charts and cosmological principles were among the most precious cargoes. From the great observatories of China to the academies of the Mediterranean, a constant, slow-motion conversation was taking place. Greek texts on geometry, translated and preserved by Islamic scholars in Baghdad, later made their way to Europe, carrying the very mathematical principles that could map the heavens onto Earth. Indian Siddhanta's complex astronomical manuals traveled east and west, influencing how other cultures tracked the planets. This was not a one-way street, but a true fusion. In the heart of Central Asia, the city of Samarkand stands as a monument to this cross-pollination. Under the ruler and astronomer Ulugh Beg in the 15th century, it became one of the world's greatest centers of learning. His magnificent observatory housed a sextant so vast it was embedded in the Earth itself, and the star catalogues produced their blended Persian, Indian, and Greek knowledge into a new, unified whole. While we may not find a city along the route that is a perfect mirror of, say, an Egyptian constellation, the shared knowledge that made such feats possible was absolutely flowing along these routes. The very concept of a zodiac, a celestial belt divided into symbolic constellations, moved from Mesopotamia into both Eastern and Western traditions, adapting to local myths but retaining its core structure. This constant exchange reminds us that these civilizations were not isolated geniuses. They were nodes in a dynamic, intellectual web, each one absorbing, adapting, and refining the cosmic ideas of their neighbors. The desire to understand the stars proved to be a universal passport, transcending language and culture to create a richer, interconnected history of human curiosity. This vast network of shared knowledge ultimately served a powerful figure at the heart of every cosmic city, the ruler who claimed to be the linchpin between heaven and earth. This cosmic authority was carved into the very ground the people walked upon. The ruler was far more than a man. He was a living axis mundi, a human pillar connecting the earthly realm to the heavens above. His primary duty was to maintain the sacred balance of the universe, and the city he built was his ultimate tool. Constructing a celestial capital was an act of creation itself, a deliberate reenactment of the moment the gods brought order from primordial chaos. By laying out a city that mirrored the stars, the king demonstrated his divine power to impose that same perfect order upon the human world. He was not just building walls and streets, he was building a cosmos in miniature, with his palace or tomb positioned as its unmoving center. In Egypt, the pharaoh was the living incarnation of Horus, the son of the sun god Ra. His capital was not merely a reflection of the Milky Way, it was the physical territory of a god on earth. In China, the emperor ruled by the mandate of heaven, his authority flowing directly from the celestial bureaucracy. The strict north-south axis of the Forbidden City was not just an architectural choice, it was a continuous, visible declaration that the Son of Heaven sat at the center of the universe, just as the pole star anchored the turning sky. Across the ocean, Mesoamerican kings wrapped themselves in the feathers of the celestial serpent, claiming direct descent from the sun and the planet Venus. The grand pyramids they built were not just temples, they were man-made mountains, replicas of the sacred peaks where gods were born. This ideology transformed immense construction projects from economic burdens into sacred duties. The back-breaking labor of thousands moving stones for decades was framed not as oppression, but as collective participation in a divine project that guaranteed the sun would rise, the rains would fall, and the kingdom would prosper. The city layout was a permanent, unarguable piece of propaganda. Every citizen, from the highest priest to the lowest farmer, lived within a designed landscape that constantly reinforced a single message. Their ruler's power was woven into the fabric of the universe itself. To question his authority was to risk cosmic chaos. This fusion of astronomy and statecraft was brilliantly effective, grounding political power in the eternal, unchanging laws of the cosmos. Yet, this profound understanding of ancient sites was almost lost, fractured by the very process that brought them to the world's attention. This colonial lens fundamentally warped our understanding for centuries. When European explorers first encountered the ruins of Great Zimbabwe or gazed upon the Avenue of the Dead at Teotihuacan, their preconceived notions of racial and cultural hierarchy blinded them to the truth. They could not, or would not, accept that the local African or Native American peoples were the descendants of such master builders. So they invented elaborate fantasies, attributing these wonders to a lost tribe of Israel, to Phoenician sailors, or even to visitors from other planets. These theories were not just flights of fancy, they were active acts of intellectual erasure, severing living cultures from their own monumental heritage. The sophisticated knowledge held by indigenous elders and encoded in oral traditions was dismissed as primitive superstition. A detailed creation myth explaining a city's alignment with the Pleiades was seen as mere folklore, while a European explorer's wild guess about Atlantis was treated as a serious hypothesis. This systematic dismissal created a devastating gap in the historical record, a silence where profound cosmological understanding once thrived. It delayed by generations our appreciation for the true genius of these civilizations, forcing modern science to painstakingly rediscover what had been known for millennia. The consequences were not merely academic. For indigenous communities, it meant seeing their sacred sites, the very anchors of their cultural and spiritual identity, being excavated, reinterpreted, and controlled by outsiders who fundamentally misunderstood their meaning. Today, a vital and overdue shift is occurring. The field of archaeology is actively working to decolonize itself. This means forming genuine partnerships with descendant communities, listening to their oral histories not as quaint stories but as valid records of the past, and respecting their deep, generational connection to the land and the stars. In places like Chaco Canyon in the American Southwest, collaboration with Pueblo peoples has revealed celestial alignments that were completely invisible to outside researchers, alignments tied to specific ceremonial practices and clan identities. This collaborative process is not about replacing science with spirituality. It is about weaving different ways of knowing into a richer, more complete tapestry of understanding. Correcting this historical injustice is essential. It is about more than just setting the record straight. It is about acknowledging the vast diversity of human intelligence and restoring the voices of those who have always held the keys to these ancient mysteries. To truly grasp the function of these rediscovered cities, we need to see them not as sterile ruins, but as dynamic, interconnected systems. These celestial alignments served as a functional, city-wide clock. Beyond their spiritual meaning, the precise orientation of a pyramid or the straight line of an avenue created a giant instrument for marking time itself. The entire urban landscape became a stable platform for observation, a permanent observatory built from stone and earth. Priests could use the peak of a distant mountain as a foresight, watching year after year as the sun or a specific star rose directly over it, signaling a change in the season. The city itself was the machine, and its key components were these long, unchanging sightlines. The most critical events were the solstices and equinoxes. A shaft of sunlight traveling down a dark corridor to illuminate a golden statue on just one day of the year was not merely a spectacle. It was a precise astronomical confirmation. It told the entire community that the cosmic calendar was on track, that the sun was following its ordained path, and that it was time to prepare the fields or begin a great festival. This system tracked more than just the solar year. At places like Choco Canyon in the American Southwest, petroglyphs and building alignments suggest the ancestral Pueblones meticulously recorded the complex 18.6-year cycle of the lunar standstills, the points where the moon rises and sets at its most extreme northerly and southerly positions on the horizon. This was not just abstract knowledge, it was essential for social and ceremonial planning on a generational scale. The city as a cosmic machine solved a fundamental human problem: how to reliably measure long cycles of time without modern technology. It transformed the abstract passage of seasons into a tangible, communal experience. Everyone could witness the sunlight hitting the sacred marker. Everyone understood the authority of the priest astronomers who interpreted these signs, and everyone benefited from the agricultural and ceremonial schedule that this celestial clock provided. This practical function reveals the ancient planners as brilliant engineer scientists. They were not simply drawing pictures of the sky, they were building a dynamic interface with the universe, a tool that actively helped their society navigate and thrive within the great rhythms of the cosmos. So where does this profound field of study go from here, as new technologies offer us an unprecedented view of the past? The next chapter of this ancient mystery is being written with lasers and satellites. Light detection and ranging, or lidar, is piercing through dense jungle canopies to reveal the ghostly footprints of forgotten cities. In Cambodia and Central America, this technology has exposed vast urban grids and hidden temples, showing us that entire landscapes were engineered with a cosmic logic we are only beginning to comprehend. From orbit, high-resolution satellite imagery allows us to see these sprawling sites not as isolated ruins, but as interconnected systems, revealing alignments and patterns that are simply invisible from the ground. Drones fly where no ancient priest could, capturing aerial views that let us analyze the grand, geometric intentions of the builders with stunning clarity. But perhaps the most powerful tool is virtual time travel. Advanced software can now reconstruct the precise appearance of the night sky from thousands of years ago, meticulously accounting for the slow wobble of precession. This allows researchers to test theories with digital precision, asking the ancient sky when a temple was built if its doorway truly framed the star Sirius, or if a solstice sun would have perfectly illuminated its inner chamber. This technological revolution is matched by a profound shift in collaboration. Astronomers now work alongside archaeologists, anthropologists, and, crucially, indigenous knowledge keepers, whose oral histories and cultural insights provide the essential context that raw data alone cannot. This fusion of high-tech science and deep cultural memory is leading to interpretations that are both more accurate and more respectful. As these tools grow more sophisticated, we will undoubtedly find more celestial cities, perhaps hidden beneath deserts or buried under modern metropolises. Each new discovery has the potential to upend our understanding, revealing a culture's technological genius and the depth of its spiritual imagination. The great mystery of the star-aligned cities is not a puzzle nearing its solution, but a frontier that is dramatically expanding. The next decade promises to be the most thrilling period of discovery this field has ever seen, ensuring that our map of humanity's cosmic past will be redrawn again and again. This ongoing quest reminds us that the most profound connections between Earth and sky are still waiting for us to find them. Our journey reveals a truth far greater than any single alignment. From the pyramids of Giza to the temples of Angkor Wat, from the avenues of Teotihuacan to the earthworks of North America, our ancestors looked to the stars not just for guidance, but as a literal blueprint for their world. These cities stand as magnificent fusions of astronomy, engineering, and art, all driven by a profound spiritual yearning to connect the earthly and the divine. They remind us that this quest for meaning and order is a fundamental part of the human experience, a thread that binds us across all times and cultures. While scholarly debates about specific stellar correlations will rightly continue, the overarching truth remains unshaken. These ancient planners looked at a universe they believed was filled with intention and sacred patterns, and they possessed both the vision and the sheer skill to bring a piece of that ordered cosmos down to Earth. As the writer Carl Sagan once reflected, we are a way for the cosmos to know itself. Perhaps in building these celestial cities, our ancestors were taking the very first, monumental steps in that grand process of cosmic self-awareness. The next time you find yourself beneath a dark sky, look up with fresh eyes. Let the stars remind you of the mysteries still whispering from ancient stones, and feel free to share your own wonder and questions in the comments below. If this exploration into where history, mystery, and the cosmos collide resonated with you, subscribe for more journeys into the unknown.